You're not burnt out, podcaster, because you're lazy or inconsistent. You're burnt out because you've been trying to market like someone you're not. Maybe that's louder, shinier, more polished. Maybe that's in ways that just don't feel good. And what's happening is that is costing you your voice. Well, we're going to stop that today. Welcome to Beyond the Downloads, the show that dives deeper than stats and charts to reveal the real impact of your podcast. I'm Jennifer Dragonette, founder of the Bold Action Collective, where we believe that bold moves truly spark transformation. Each week, we explore how your unique story, passion, and purpose can create powerful connections that will change lives, yours and those of your listeners. If you're ready to go beyond the metrics, embrace bold action, and unleash the life raft potential of your podcast, you're in the right space. Let's go. Are you ready? Let's do this. There was a time in my business when I felt completely disconnected from what I was creating. I was showing up everywhere. I was posting, podcasting, YouTubing, doing all the things, trying to keep up with the latest trends. But it felt like I was building for someone else. I was building using someone else's strategy, and it definitely wasn't mine. And the deeper truth, I wasn't just tired. I was invisible in my own business because I had let go of what was making me unique and what made me shine, thinking I had to be in another strategy. Well, hundreds of thousands of dollars later, between degrees and all these coaches, I had to make a choice. So if you felt like you're doing everything right, but it's feeling like you're still completely drained, don't worry, you're not alone. And we can actually change that. We can talk about what's actually happening and how to market in a way that doesn't feel icky and burn you out and leave you feeling more tired with FOMO and feeling like you're just not doing enough. So why? Why is this happening? So you may be asking, how do I build my business without burning out? Well, first, you need to start with your nervous system, not your niche. This is one of the things that I have learned along the way is that sometimes we dig deep into the niche. We dig deep into the strategy. But what you really need to do, what you really need to focus on is how it feels in your body. Yes, a lot of these strategies can work, but if you are forcing it beyond recognition, meaning it's not just uncomfortable, it's actually causing you internal turmoil that's exhausting you, then you need to start looking at a different situation. Because this doesn't mean that you need to have a better niche, have a better strategy. You need to work in a way that doesn't put your body into fight or flight every time you hit record. Now, this is really hard to think about, and this is really hard for a lot of people because we see so many strategies. Oh, look at that person blowing up on TikTok, on Instagram. Look at that person doing great, doing shorts. Look at that person on YouTube. Look at that person on doing podcasts. Look at that person speaking up on stage. And we think we need all those things to be successful. Hell, I thought I needed all those things to be successful. But what I really needed to do was to show up someplace that was safe where I could show up and shine like myself. Yes, the niche is important. Yes, the system is important. Yes, the strategy is important on the back end. But if your nervous system is so out of whack, it's not going to get you anywhere. Case in point, for me, I keep showing up on YouTube and I have a client that shows up on YouTube. And then what happens is both of us end up sick every time we do it. We end up burning out and we end up feeling like we're not enough. And then we don't do anything. We just freeze. We go into that functional freeze where nothing happens. But when I back up the train for both of us and we're like, okay, let's just show up with this audio only podcast. Let's work on being a guest on other shows and having guests on our shows. Let's work on actually networking in person. You know what's happening? Both of our businesses are growing. And growing pretty well, like weeds, with that word of mouth, that connection, because we together, both of us, like the strategy of actually connecting with other humans on a more personal, deeper level. Does that mean we'll never get over to YouTube and all these other things? Heck no. This is even going on YouTube. But the case is, and point is that when I focus on the things that actually feel semi-safe in my nervous system, because it's still not safe. When we're showing up and we're sharing our gifts, sometimes that doesn't feel safe. But if you show up in a way that you can continually show up, once that's comfortable, then you can start getting comfortable with something else, then something else. So really add those baby steps of things where it feels safe in your nervous system, where you're not just trying to chase the next trend and you're actually focusing on what your business is. That is to grow and to connect with other humans, actually support someone else in whatever way it is, whether it's a product or a service or whatever you have. You want to make someone else's life better, is my guess. So start with there and start with a way that feels good to you. Podcasting feels good to me. Hanging out on Facebook surprisingly feels good to me. And you know what? Networking in person feels really freaking good. So that's where I'm focusing. So really start looking at the nervous system. Are you showing up and it's just uncomfortable because you have a little fear of visibility, or is it actually misaligned? So next you have to ditch those shoulds, the shoulds. And you have to reconnect to what's truly yours. Forget what that coach said, that course, the algorithm told you to do, whatever it is. Like I was talking about, you got to go back to what is your thing. What is your rhythm in showing up? What makes your nervous system shine? Because energy attracts energy. Listen to the podcast with Brenda Johnston a few weeks ago. I'll link it in the show notes. But what you really need to do is you really, really need to find a way that feels good and get in that rhythm of showing up so that you can have that consistency. So that you aren't burning out so much because you just give and give and give and you pour and you pour and you pour and you force and you force and you force. And then all of a sudden you're like, can't do anything anymore. So ditch those shoulds and think about what can I do to move yourself forward. This could be a small step like me, back down a little bit. I've created this new baked in strategy. This actually, if you're watching this on YouTube, it is a baked into my full podcast episode over on the Beyond the Downloads podcast. Listening to the Beyond the Downloads podcast. Well, if you just want these functional one piece core questions, go watch it just on YouTube. Baking it in is allowing me to show up and still feel good and still feel safe without having to burn myself out. There's ways to repurpose if you do it with strategy. And that's the core thing there is you have to have a strategy. A lot of things don't like when you just pull clips out of your podcast and then try to put it in other places. That's what the strategy that I've created is this YouTube baked into a longer form podcast episode. That's what you're watching right now on YouTube. And what this is doing is it's feeding both algorithms and something that they like. It's helping my nervous system stay regulated so I'm not having to create a podcast and then a YouTube and then all this other stuff. I'm baking it in. I'm doing it all at once. And that's one of the things that I really want you to do is if you are just burning yourself out on social media, you got to choose a long form content. It's always on. It's always working for you. Long form gives you that breathing room. It builds your authority and it's sustainable. Unlike chasing trends that leave you feeling empty. That's why I've created this podcast, YouTube baked in strategy that is really allowing me to bake in a YouTube strategy into my podcast strategy. So I record once, but it actually works on both platforms. It gives you grace. So if you're thinking about doing podcasting and YouTube, there's a way to make it work for you where you're not just pulling some random clip. It's a strategy baked into a strategy that's only making you record one piece of content that actually works on both platforms and both algorithms, which is absolutely crazy and so excited about it. So again, we're going to go into the next part of this is the repurposing with attention. If I didn't do this, it'd be hard to clip a section to tell you, oh yeah, these are the steps to move you forward. That's what YouTube likes. They like the steps. It likes that core, not the long drawn out part of podcasting. Podcasting allows you to get juicy, and really nurture your audience. YouTube is a discoverability tool that you're giving people to move forward. So if you can bake in your YouTube strategy into your nurture strategy and you can create one podcast episode that also has a baked in YouTube video, you've got to let your voice lead in your strategy. How does it feel good to you? Maybe you're not somebody who likes to talk and maybe the social platforms are better for you. But if you're looking at YouTube and podcasting, there's a way to make them blend where you can actually have a nurtured podcast and grow your YouTube channel because just repurposing your podcast over on your YouTube is not going to be the strategy that's going to get you to where you want to be. I can guarantee you that. You got to lead with your voice, not the algorithm, not the industry standards. It's got to come from you. And if this feels good to you, reach out to me. I mean, I'm more than happy to share this YouTube podcast strategy with you. And if you want, you can come be one of my beta testers, because right now I'm building out this whole process where you can actually plug and play if you want to use a little AI to help you flesh out how to put in every single YouTube video inside of your Nurture podcast, because we want to make it easy around here, because you don't have to burn out. You can shine bright, shine bright. I don't even know the song. I can pretend like I do, but I don't. But your story is someone's life raft. You don't have to burn yourself out being on every platform and recreating everything. But most platforms do like native content, meaning content that's made directly for them. So if you can bake in a YouTube video into your podcast episode, winning, winner, chicken dinner. And I got you for that. So remember, you're not burnt out because you're doing it wrong. You're burnt out because you've been trying to do it like someone you're not. So here's what I want you to reflect on today. What would visibility look like if it was built around your nervous system and you feeling good, not someone else's strategy? Yes, we do have to get a little uncomfortable if we want to grow, but we don't have to be in this such dysregulated space where we can't function, where we're not sleeping, or we're sleeping too much, or we're always getting sick, or we're doing all the content, we're doing all the planning, but we're not recording. So here's your 15-minute bold action. If this landed, I've got 2 steps for you. 1, I want you to start thinking about where you can build visibility from your truth, not pressure. You can come hang out with me. I'm on most of the platforms. I love being in the DMs and chatting with you. Ask all your questions, do all your things. We're building out a community in the back end that's the Bold Action Collective. There's a lot of places that you can do this, but find where that community feels good to you. If you're ready to go even deeper, we can go into an audit. We can actually have a one-on-one conversation where I can audit your podcast and your journey, and we can give you this like micro piece of this built-in strategy. So what I really want you to do is to not get stuck in someone else's patterns and strategies. What's different about working with me and like just hanging out even on this podcast is that there are different strategies, and I'm not saying you have to do this YouTube baked into your podcast strategy. There's ways for everybody. Just like I said, I'm working with one client where that didn't work, so we backed it up just for a YouTube strategy and an in-person strategy. And that's what's really magical. And when you can surround yourself with people, or you can have somebody who can suss out all these ideas, that's where the magic happens. Because again, you're not burnt out. You're just doing too much. You're burnt out because you're doing it like someone else. You've been told to post, you've been told to pitch and plan and do all the things, and it's coming out of obligation. So you need to take a freaking pause, realign, and guess what? You'll show up more powerful and have more presence in your business, and your body will actually feel good moving forward. And what this is going to do, it's going to help you create a marketing strategy that makes you feel visible, and it make you feel like it's not performative, like you can actually be yourself. But you got to let go of some of that structure that you've built into your brain, no matter how much you wanted that coaching program or that course, or hell, your freaking 6-year master's degree. Sometimes we got to let it go and figure out what feels good in our bodies, because burnout doesn't always come from overworking. Sometimes it comes from overperforming, and we're going to stop doing that today. We're going to stop the perfectionism, and we're going to move forward by showing up in our story instead of the strategy. That's what I have for you today. I'm really excited for next week. Next week, we're going to talk about something a little deeper. We're going into that visibility wound. That wound that if you've ever felt judged, dismissed, or just like unseen when you've tried to show up, don't worry, you're not the only one. And next week's episode is going to be your exhale and your release of that visibility wound. So I want you to go out, make today amazing, because you are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are worthy, and your story deserves a microphone. Now go do the thing.